Okay, this week on the Sunovageek Podcast, we talk about Maneater, a shark action RPG, potential Breath of the Wild 2 leaks, what games had us fall back in love with video games, and then we just start getting into some of our favorite action RPGs over the years. We talk a bit about Star Ocean, Eternal Sonata, the Tales of series, Mass Effect Dungeon Siege, and a few more. And then at the end of the podcast, we talk about a single question that could be the single question that changes the fate of a whole universe of gaming altogether. So make sure to tune in this week, and let's start the show.
Was that like the recording, or are you just reading that off to me as a practice?
That's the recording.
Oh, dicks. I was going to like put in my own 2 cents here and there.
Hey everybody, you're listening to the Sunovageek Podcast.
Son of a geek!
Woo! I'm Spencer.
And I'm not Spencer.
Nope, you're...
Zio.
Zio. Thank you,
Yeah.
Zio. You're really good at this. Oh, I forgot.
I know,
Give me a
I'm
sec.
the best at this.
I had to turn off my settings so I could see my face and know that everything... Oh, I didn't even I turned on more settings.
Oh, he turns on more settings so he can see his face and not my face. I see how it is.
I don't want to. I don't want to look at you, Zio. That's not why I do this.
Oh, okay. Okay,
No,
it's
so
not.
that I can listen to my own voice for an hour.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. That's
Yeah,
why
and
your
quickly skip over
audio
yours.
always sounds way better. You just trash my audio. That's it. That has
or
nothing to do with
maybe-
my incompetence on my end at all.
No, it has nothing to do with that. No, nothing at all. Don't worry about it, Zio.
Okay. All right.
So, what are we talking about today, Mr. Zio?
Yes.
Yes.
We're talking about games and things around game topics and such topics that you choose.
Cool. So we're actually talking about, we're going to be talking about some action RPGs, kind of some of our
Yes.
favorites that we've played over the years. But it all kind of sparked from this because I was like, Zio. And I messaged
And I
him
was
before
like,
the podcast like a week ago. And I was like, hey,
Yep.
dude, have you heard of Maneater?
And I said yes.
Yes. But then I said, no, not that Maneater, the video game.
Oh, and then I said maybe.
Yeah, because I recently saw some footage for the Maneater,
Yeah.
which is it's this action RPG where you play as a shark, and I had no
Right.
idea this was a thing.
I know. And while I didn't recognize the title you said, I had heard of it before, and I saw it months ago on like Game Rank's channel, and they talked about it, and then I watched a few videos of it because my wife loves like shark video games.
Yeah.
And this is an action RPG with a shark, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's really sweet. Have you seen any of the a lot of the gameplay footage?
I haven't followed it. No, I saw some gameplay footage where you're like on this beach in like Santa Barbara or whatever kind of area, and like you can eat people and all that jazz. You can like hop up on a dock and murder somebody and then hop
Ooh,
back
I
in the
haven't seen
water.
that one.
Yeah, and then like the police boats will chase you and try to murder you.
Yeah, there's like these boats with these guys are shooting harpoons at you.
Yeah,
And you've got to go
then,
and like jump out of the water and like grab the guy and then like
Yeah.
dive back in and
what
it's
I
so
thought was
cool.
pretty cool is when you look at the map too, it shows the water as the map and not the land. It's just something different you don't see in typical world maps.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of games that I look and I try to keep an eye on and I'm like, I probably won't play this, but I think the concept's cool. This one I might actually play.
Really?
I might
really?
actually get this one.
I don't know if I will personally play it, but I do think my wife will want it.
Okay. Well, the concept of it is, I think, is really cool. Where you're a shark going around in the ocean, you're killing people, other fish, whatever you eat and kill. That's how you gather resources. Also, if you guys hear a little bit of sound here for the next couple of minutes, there's a blender going on upstairs.
Oh, tell them to make me one.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Whatever they're making, I'll
what kind of
just take
smoothie
it.
do you want?
Strawberry banana.
Really? It's not a bad combination. Dude, mango, in my opinion, is the best thing to have in a smoothie.
Really? I mean, I've had mango in a smoothie. It's not bad. I don't mind mango mixed in, but strawberry banana or strawberry kiwi. I like strawberry kiwi.
Oh, kiwi's good too. See, I don't normally like mangoes, but mangoes just has this unique kind of a kick to it where it's just like,
Okay.
feels good. I usually go for like mango raspberry. That's my thing.
Ooh, that does sound pretty good though. I'll have to try that next time because I actually just made smoothies this morning.
Ooh, what did you make?
I made a strawberry kiwi smoothie.
Nice. See, kiwi's good. I haven't had kiwi in a smoothie in a long time.
I love kiwi.
Ooh, I'm gonna be going for some kiwi next. Although I don't think kiwi and mango. I don't know. Maybe.
Who knows? Yeah, you'll have to try it and then let me know.
All right. Next podcast. Probably not gonna have it. I don't have.
Yeah,
smoothies
probably
very
won't
often,
happen. Just like how when I said I was gonna like redesign the Carbuncle, last week, and I didn't.
The what? The Carbuncle?
Carbuncle.
Oh, Carbuncle. Yeah, that didn't happen.
Yeah, from Final Fantasy VII.
I put up a couple pictures where if someone wasn't paying attention, they'd be like, "Oh wow, look what Zio did."
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's. I tried to watch some gameplay because they released gameplay footage of the summons.
Yeah.
And yeah, it doesn't help. I thought in motion it might look better, but it doesn't. It still looks stupid.
Yeah, well, it'll.
Yeah.
Yep. It's just I'm trying to think of anything where it's like, it's fine, but it looks weird.
Yeah,
it
it's
dumb.
not great. It's just not great.
But
that's all right. We're here to
much
talk
we can
about
do
other
about
things.
So what's really cool about Manhunter is the way that you collect. I don't know what the resources are used for. I'm assuming it's for upgrades and different abilities because it's an RPG. But you collect these things by eating stuff, whether it's like fish or people, depending on the type of fish or the person. You get different like amounts of different resources, and I think it's really cool. And I haven't seen much to do with the skill tree for it, but.
So my thing about it is I'm very curious, like with all these RPGs, action RPG, it has like RPG elements.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they call it a shark RPG, don't they?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so with that, like, I'm curious what the story is about.
So we don't know too much about it, but essentially what we know is you start out the game as a fully grown shark with all your upgrades. Like you're badass, you're super deadly, you're ready to go, having a great time. You get caught, I believe, by a shark, like this guy that's a shark hunter, and which he kills you. But there's a little baby shark that's inside.
Oh, it's a revenge story.
So the baby shark is who you play as for most of the rest of the game. And like you're growing up and leveling up. But what's really interesting is when the baby shark's pulled out, what the Manhunter does is he cuts off a section of your fin. And then he goes and throws you back into the water. And there's this guy on his boat with him. And it's like, what are you doing this for? And he's like, so that I can, so that in the future when it's a bigger shark and I find it, I remember it. And then we bite off his hand. And then he throws us, and then he kind of throws us and his hand into the water. So there's like a little bit of like something going on between
give and
us.
Take. Interesting.
Yeah, so you start out as like this badass, fully upgraded thing, and then you play the rest of the game as this little baby shark that's slowly leveling up and growing up as it goes through.
Oh,
so so at the beginning, when you first start the game, you realize how cool you could be, but then it takes everything away from you, and you've got to start fighting your way through. And I think if they didn't do that, I think it would have been a lot different of a game, just because it builds this contrast of, there's so much you can do, but now we've stripped everything away to show you just how much you've got to grow and go along. Whereas if it was a sequel, I wouldn't have liked that approach. But because it's the first one, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, they do that in a few games as well. Like a few other RPGs they've done that with. I'm trying to think which one specifically.
Didn't they do something similar in Shadow of War? Because you start out as your human.
Oh, yeah, but that's a sequel.
Oh, or sorry, like the first one.
Shadow of Mordor?
Shadow of Mordor. No, I guess it's different because you don't have all the powers. You're just alive and then you're dead. Spoiler.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I don't know which one they do it for. But I know they've done it in other games. But yeah, they do it in sequels a lot where you have the powers and they take them away instead of, just letting you have the same powers you had in the previous game.
Well, there's a few games that have ended up okay, I've talked about this game a lot on the podcast. But Breath of the Wild did it perfectly.
Whoa. You mean
perfectly.
Badawa?
Badawa?
Yeah, that's the official name.
Oh, is it? I don't like that.
It's Badawa. We talked about this on the podcast.
All right, I don't remember that at all. But I love how they found a way to do the game where you basically get all of your powers, and then you just go through and play the rest of the game, and things just get more difficult. And I want to see more games like that. I would love to see more RPGs that do that kind of thing.
Aren't they making a Badawa sequel?
Yeah, there's been some leaked information that we don't know if it's true or not.
Keep all the powers?
I don't know. I think, yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's not that many powers. There's a bomb,
Yeah.
There's a magnet, there's a time stop, and there's another fourth thing, and they give it to you at the beginning of the last game anyways. The only way that you'd lose those powers is if they start out the game and you don't have the Sheikah Slate.
Okay.
Which it wouldn't be difficult to do. It's like for some reason the Sheikah Slate stopped working. Or maybe something happened, and then you've just got to go and recharge it or something. Like, I don't know. They can do something for that. And I think it's those 4 powers. I don't really care if we lose that. That's not so bad. It's not this. It'd be different if it was something like how they've done it in, I don't know. A terrible but also good example is the Mass Effect series. Like Mass Effect, was it the second one where you die and then there's the company that rebuilds you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because you go from like the super awesome badass with tons and tons and tons of different powers and abilities versus Breath of the Wild where you've got 4 powers and maybe some extra, I don't know, I guess, you got all your weapons and gear stuff. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe one day we'll have I don't know if there's any other game that does that. I know like all the sequels, they always start you with those powers and then they make you lose them so you can rebuild them. But other than that... Is that your smoothie? Oh, what is it?
It's really good. What kind is it?
A mixture.
Oh, it's a mixture. It tastes really good.
I'm glad you like it too.
It'd be funny if it was green. I went... Again, it happened. I sat down for the podcast.
And you had a green shirt on?
And I had a hoodie on. I wasn't thinking about it. I sat down and just like right here was all just gone. I'm like, oh, I'm a floating head again. Oh, dude. I know this isn't really related, but for streaming, a whole bunch of people wanted to add in a thing called pickle spin. So what we did was we went in and there's a thing that happens now where there's like a little, where like the pickle on the bottom of the screen shows up, but then it's like everything's like cut out around my head with like a bit of like a gradation on like with transparency, and so it's just my head down there and we put on a color thing, so I'm a pickle.
Nice.
It's really stupid, but I love it.
That's amazing.
It's a really good smoothie.
I bet. I'm very jealous. I just got a stupid Pepsi right here.
Zio. Well, that's like a really tall Pepsi can.
Yeah, it is. It's like a tall boy, baby.
Is it a tall, narrow one or just like a tall, normal one?
It's just a tall, normal one. 16 ounces as opposed to the 12.
I've never seen that before.
4 more fluid ounces.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
But so these Breath of the Wild possible leaks here. Because you played Breath of the Wild.
No.
No, oh, that's right. You haven't. You got to get it.
No. I have a Switch. I just haven't got it because I refuse to pay $60 for a game that's, years old.
Well, you should get it anyways because I hate talking to you about things that you're mad about with Nintendo.
I'm not mad about it with Nintendo. I just think it's silly.
No, that's fair. But so the whole point of the first Breath of the Wild is you're going through saving Zelda just like a normal one. But the second one, possibly, we don't know if this is true, the whole point could be going around and rebuilding Hyrule. That might be what the sequel is, which I think could be kind of cool. Again, we don't know. Cool. It's just some guy on Reddit posted like, hey, I got some sneak peek stuff. And then he kind of like cited some sources from this guy as well that he got sneak peek information from before. So who knows? He could have been pulling stuff out of his butt. But I think that'd be a really cool concept.
Yeah.
But I do want to see a lot more dungeon-esque like stuff in Breath of the Wild because the Castle of Hyrule was by far the coolest part of Breath of the Wild.
Was it?
Yeah. In my opinion.
I really,
you got to go around and explore explore type stuff.
I do really have to play it. I want to really bad. Maybe I'll go to GameStop and buy it.
You know what you should do? You should go buy it on the Wii U and then play it on the Wii U.
Yeah, that's never going to happen, Spen.
Oh, why not?
Wii U is never going to be in my house because it's the worst console ever.
One of these days, I'm going to come out and visit you, and I'm going to bring my Wii U, and we're going to play some games on it.
And you're just going to sit on the porch because you won't be allowed in with that Wii U.
There was actually an article I was reading. I have to say, it wasn't a very good article, but it was basically a guy saying that he bought a Switch and these other consoles, and they got rid of all of their other consoles, and they've only kept the Wii U because it's the only one they use.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane.
It wasn't a very well written article. I think that might have been why I didn't send it to you, but I have it saved on my.
Well, I'm glad you didn't, because I would have used it as fodder to tear it apart.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I'm excited. Maneater, I think it's gonna be fun. Breath of the Wild 2, I'm pumped for, because Breath of the Wild, I fell in love with video games through Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
So it reminded me my love of them.
You know what game made me re-fall in love with video games? And we've talked about it before.
Final Fantasy VII.
I mean, I love that game, but that's not what made me fall in love with video games again. So, like, video games never had trophies and achievements and stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really obsessed with trophy hunting on video games to where it got to a point to where
it was unhealthy.
I was even playing video games I didn't care about just to get the trophies, because I'm like, oh, this might be an easier platinum. And then I would just be frustrated because I hate the game and I'm forcing myself to play through it.
Yeah.
But there's always one game that never had trophies that I just kept going back to because it made me feel good playing it. And it's Eternal Sonata. That game.
What a killer segue.
Thanks, bro. It's so good. I may not study for the topic, but I come prepared. Dropping that knowledge and
I think
segues.
It just worked out. It just worked out. But I mean, this is legitimate because you've talked about this exactly before on the podcast many months ago.
Oh, yeah. It's been a long time. So any new listeners isn't going to hear or be familiar. But Eternal Sonata is a phenomenal action RPG. I love that game. And that's what brought my love for video games back. Because it doesn't have trophies or anything. So I would just occasionally go back to play that game just to fall in love for a game for what it is again.
Yeah.
Just to enjoy another story. And that game isn't the greatest game ever. It reuses a lot of assets a lot. It's not even the most original, but it's pretty cliche and cut and dry for a standard action RPG, but it just makes you feel good.
No, I totally get what you mean. It's because it's been a very long time since I played it. It was one of the games I watched my sister play it on the Xbox 360, and at first I'm like, this game, I'm like, whatever. And then I actually saw her at the end of the game. So I saw her like partway mid through, and then at the end of the game, just before she beat it.
Yeah.
And there was some stuff that happened in there where I was just like, all right, I'm gonna play through this, and then it was just a non-stop train of woo. This game.
It just
with
so
a few
good.
little like.
I mean, it does have an interesting battle. It's kind of a unapologetic ripoff of Star Ocean's battle mechanics. But it does add a slight interesting element with involving music, because the whole game revolves around music. And I did really like the concept that it's about Frederick Chopin in his last days when he's in a coma before he dies.
Way to spoil the games.
That's the beginning of the game.
Way to spoil the whole game.
Basically, like this, he creates this whole world in his head, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't think there's been a concept like that done yet since that I can think of off the top of my head.
Maybe, I'm not sure. Nothing we can think of off top. There might be something, but overall, it's just a great game. If anybody has a PS3, or I think it's on the 360 as well, right?
I thought wasn't Eternal Sonata remade onto another thing?
I don't think so. Hit the Googles!
Eternal Sonata remastered. Oh, never mind. It's just people saying it deserves a remaster.
Yeah, because it's so good.
Because I thought it was coming out on the Switch. But...
Oh, that'd be pretty awesome. I'd play it again on the Switch, 100%.
But yeah, I'm not seeing anything about it. So, alright. It's just people saying that they want it remastered.
Yeah.
It was the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation. When did the game even come out?
Like 2008.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
It was towards the beginning of the console generations.
Well, the Xbox 360 2007.
Oh,
and then the PlayStation 3 2008.
Oh, so PlayStation 3 got it a year later.
Yeah.
Either way, it's super good.
That was a really long time ago.
I was.
I just had a brain fart. I was gonna
What?
say something to add in on Eternal Sonata, and my
Okay.
brain was like, "Oh, Spencer, this is great. Say it." And then right as I went to say it, it was like, "Just kidding."
Gotcha.
Gotcha good. But
but
there's been so many good action RPGs that have come
there
out.
are.
Because that one is this Eternal Sonata is kind of, and I know this is it's not a fair comparison, but it's kind of along the same lines of the Tales of games.
Yeah, I mean, in the sense of JRPGs, yeah. I mean, although I think the Tales of games kind of set a interesting standard because their cinematics are very different. They always just go straight to anime cinematics, and I love that. And every time I see a Tales of game, I want that game just to be adapted into an anime.
Well, they did that with two of them.
Did they?
Tales of Symphonia had a first season anime adaptation.
Really?
And then I believe, because one of the ones you wanted to talk about today was Tales of Xillia, and I think it was Tales of Xillia that also has, I think it was either a show or a movie.
No way, because I love Tales of Xillia.
No, not Tales of Xillia. It was the one before Tales of Xillia. Tales of Vesperia.
Oh, so that one was the anime.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. But if you were unfamiliar or you had just discovered the Tales of series, it'd be pretty easy to think of Eternal Sonata as a Tales of game, I would say. Just because of the way combat works in it, the way it presents characters, and just, I mean, again, it's not a fair comparison because it's technically a genre of its own. I feel like it'd be closer to Star Ocean. Just like the art style and everything makes me think more of Star Ocean than a Tales of I've never played Star Ocean.
What?
I know.
Well, that's going to take me to the next one then I would love. Like Star Ocean 3, Till the End of Time. Best Star Ocean game.
Well, most of Star Ocean was PlayStation, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I never owned PlayStation growing up.
Star Ocean 4 and 5 are on the Xbox consoles. 4 is on the 360.
See, but at that point, I don't like starting games several numbers into it. I like playing them from the first, and that's why I wouldn't have started it.
They're very different. It's like the Final Fantasy series.
How am I supposed to know that if I've never played them? Just like how for the longest time,
I
always thought
4 and
Final
5,
Fantasy, all the stories were connected together.
4 and 5, they don't call them Star Ocean 4 and 5. They just say Star Ocean, and then.
See, I got no good excuse for you then.
But yeah, no, it's the Star Ocean games you should play. I would highly recommend number 3. It's easily the best one. 4 got better once they created the international version. So the first one didn't do so well, but then they added a lot more content and they called it the international version. Then it got significantly better. And then the last one I didn't even play because it was just a big letdown, apparently. It's a very, very short story. Apparently it went, because they used to be like 60-hour games easily, to like a 20-hour storyline. And no like extra content besides that.
Okay.
And the characters were apparently like one-dimensional. So.
That would be a very big change then. Because Star Ocean has a very large fan base that absolutely love the games.
Incredibly long. Like, I made it my goal to try to platinum Star Ocean 4. Mm-hmm. And then I saw the time frame. It's roughly 1,000 hours to platinum that game.
That's a lot of hours.
I was like, yeah, I can't do that.
No. High School Zio, maybe.
Yeah, High School Zio, maybe, but
it would have been like, let's get on this. But today's Zio, he doesn't have time for that stuff.
That's right. I'm busy doing things.
Yeah.
Making content.
Tons of content.
That's right. At least once a week.
Hopefully one of these days it'll be good content.
Oh, man.
That wasn't very good. But
right in the heart. Right in the heart. I was going to say, you wouldn't know what that's like, though, Spen.
Oh!
No. I'm just kidding.
So, Tales of Xillia is another one of those action RPGs that's kind of like your
That's
so
my
what
sets
favorite
apart
Tales
game.
of Xillia from the other Tales of games for you then?
I think it's the relationship dynamic they have. So, like, you get to choose. I think it's the first Tales game where you get to choose one of two characters.
Oh, do you?
And then they each have a branching storyline.
Which is the one where you start out on this floating island and can talk to spirits?
That was Tales of Vesperia, I think. No,
Tales of that's not Vesperia.
that was the one. That was before Azilia. I know that one. I have it.
That's the last Tales of game I've played, but I never finished it.
Oh, that one became an anime. Zestiria.
Tales of Zestiria. Okay.
Yeah. That one became an anime.
Oh, really?
That I need to watch, yes. I need to find that one and watch it.
All right, sweet. I'll have to check that one out then. Because the Tales of games, the art style is really cool.
Yeah.
There needs to be more, like, that kind of anime.
I agree.
I want fantasy adventures with, like, a party of adventurers that go around and explore and go and do different things. That they're just a ragtag bunch of adventurers.
Yeah.
Kind of exactly what Critical's Role is doing with their TV series.
Yeah, I think I would say Tales of Zestiria is probably my second favorite Tales game. It's really good. But the reason I like Exilia is because, like I said, you get two main characters, and depending on the character you choose, they have their own story. For the most part, it interweaves. But you get a lot of certain scenes you don't get from the other two because there's moments where they separate from each other. And
interesting.
You play as either a med student. His name is Jude. And,
I have played a little bit of this one, yeah.
So he's a pacifist guy, and he gets like outlawed because he helped this goddess, and so you get to be him or the goddess. Yeah, and so she's not a goddess. She's a guardian of the gods.
See, I didn't make it that far into the game.
If you play her, you get the power of the gods with you, and if you play him, you're just a dude.
Okay.
So like you just get very interesting perspectives, and they're two opposite personalities, and so I really like that concept in the game. That's why Zillia is my favorite.
That is really cool. It makes me want to go back and actually play it now.
Yeah,
because I got to the point where they were escaping from that research school place thing.
That's like
the beginning of the game.
The beginning, yeah. I was gonna say that sounds like the opening of the story.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Which is your favorite Tales game?
A lot of people are gonna say it's a cheap cop out, but Tales of Symphonia.
Oh yeah,
is my favorite Tales of game.
That's like I would say that's the most recognizable Tales game.
Mm-hmm. But I also haven't played tons and tons of Tales of games since then, just because there's such a massive time commitment. Yeah, I basically, because Tales of Symphonia, I played that, and then I started getting into the Mass Effect series, and then it was hard to go and play other games just because of how big they are. Okay. Same with like the Elder Scrolls games. I started getting into those. Yeah. And it was difficult from there, but I think part of it too, for me, it might just be nostalgia for Tales of Symphonia, thinking back at it. That's fair. Because it's the only Tales of game that I've completely finished multiple times. Okay. Yeah, no, yeah. I played it a long time ago because I was on the PS2 originally, wasn't it? Yeah, and the GameCube for me. Okay, yeah. I've played all the Tales games leading up to the latest. I haven't played the latest one, unless it was Zestiria. Because I think they released one more after Zestiria, didn't they? I think so. Berseria or something like that? Yeah, it's on Steam. Oh, no, I did play it. I bought it and I played a little bit of it. It's not as good. I didn't like Durgus or something? I don't know. Oh, it's got Durgus, a D and E and an R in there somewhere. Yeah, it's got D. Have you seen stuff to do with the new one that's coming out? No. What is the new Tales of game? It's basically a Tales of game, but realistic graphics. Tales of Arise? It's moving away from the classic Tales of art style, and it's going into like what you would expect to see in like the Final Fantasy VII Remake level of graphics. Is it Tales of Arise? I think so. I wouldn't say it looks realistic. It looks fantastic. Really? It still has that very anime style. It just has I think you're on drugs here. I think you're on drugs. I'm looking at it right now. I think you're 100% on drugs for it. I think you're insane. Well, I guess it's more of like Tales of meets Monster Hunter for the art style. Yeah, I was going to say, it's not Final Fantasy style at all. Oh, and I think that's the right route for them to go. I didn't want them to go Final Fantasy. That's kind of cliche, and I liked
they're more anime looking.
All right. Well, I'm looking at this, and yeah.
Not gonna lie, I'm really hating the main dude.
Why?
Half his face.
Does he look too edgy for you?
Yeah.
When you see him without the black armor, that might change your opinion.
Okay. He's very edgelord for me. He's just like, ugh, I'm a hardened guy.
She looks really cool, though.
Look at me cover half my face.
I mean,
no, he still has his face covered.
He does.
That's so stupid.
How do you? Maybe he had some sort of like really killer injury, and now
Give
half
him an
of his
eye
face
patch,
is moving.
then.
What if it's more than just his eye? What if it's?
I don't know.
What if half of his head is missing?
I don't know.
I think her character design
like
looks
her.
really cool.
I think she looks great.
She kind of looks more
stupid.
of like an elegant princess type thing, and he looks more like the knight that's supposed to be with her, like protecting or guarding.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that's the vibe I get off of it.
See, and here's the worst part about it is, though he may be disfigured, right? That's a good possibility. They will probably not bring it up in the game.
Oh, it's possible, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they will. I don't think they will, because anytime anybody's ever had an eye patch or anything like that, they never bring it up like, why do you got an eye patch on? Or they don't give you like some sort of backstory for the purpose. It's just, hey, it's here because of a design I decided to go with.
I'd say you're wrong with that. The Tales of games typically are pretty good with that, where they go into those kinds of details. Maybe we don't learn about it in like main story stuff.
Oh, where they're having conversations and everything.
But yeah, like during conversations,
That's
like
fair.
They always have things like, "Hey, why are you wearing an eye patch?" And it's like, "Oh, because I'm a pirate." They always have those weird little things.
That's fair. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'll give it a chance because it's a Tales of game, and I love them.
I don't know. I love the new direction they're going with the art. And the style.
I do agree. I do like the art style, but they better still do anime cutscenes.
I don't think there's going to be. I don't think anime cutscenes would complement the art style.
I hate this game. Then it's the worst.
But I mean, if you look up Tales of Arise and you look at the images there and all the close-up stuff, I think it would be a waste to not use the 3D models.
I don't. I think there's more you can do with just the anime cutscenes than you could with 3D models.
That's true, but I mean, in all of the cutscenes we've seen, they haven't pushed things to the point where it's like, couldn't have done this with the animations, except for like the older ones where they just didn't have the technology to have the 3D models work the way that we expect them to.
Yeah, well, I recognize that. I'm watching a trailer of it now. I'm seeing if they have any type of
they haven't had any from what I've seen. I don't think it's gonna happen, Zio. You're not gonna get any anime cutscenes in this one.
There better be, or I will start a petition.
Well, you might be alone in this. Sorry, Zio. I'm not going to be backing you on.
No. I will start a petition, and
okay. How many petitions?
We will change the entire game.
How many petitions in the recent years, besides the Sonic one, because that one was a little different? How many petitions have started where it's been like, well, I guess we'll change it now?
A lot, but.
Really?
My argument against that is...
Give me an example. Just one example.
Well, there's a lot of people who start petitions. They just kind of failed.
Yeah, and how many... Give me one example of a petition that you know about that ended up working.
I don't need to give you an example, because my example to you, Sven, is how many petitions have I started that have failed? 0.
Yeah, because you haven't started any.
That's not the point.
So that doesn't mean 100% of yours of 0 of 0 is still 0.
But look, this picture, that's an anime style. I just want their cutscenes to be an anime, and I'll be perfectly fine.
I don't see what picture you're talking about, but
I just sent it to you on Discord.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, they're showing some art style in anime.
I'll give you like a 50-50 on that one.
Oh, no, look, he wore a big faceplate, and then it got shattered, and now it's only half a faceplate. So instead of taking it off like a logical person, he's just going to leave it on.
Oh, so that's probably from like his armor or something, and then something happened.
Yeah.
What if something happened and it was like this? What if his helmet got like super molded to his face? You're gonna see a part at the beginning of the game where his armor gets shattered and his helmet's there, and he tries to take it off, and it just starts like bleeding from underneath the mask.
I mean, if that's the case, I would be perfectly fine with it. I would understand it at that point because they have a reason.
All right.
I'm telling you, this game better have anime cutscenes.
It's not gonna have anime cutscenes.
It's got to. That's a Tales staple.
We're gonna make a bet here. All right.
All right.
I'm gonna say there's gonna be no anime cutscenes in this.
All right.
And you're saying there's what are we gonna wager?
Oh.
Tell you what, we'll leave it up to the YouTube comment section.
Yes, that's great. Those at YouTube, let us know. Comment down below what our wager should be. What should the loser do? What should the winner get? Kind of thing.
We will. What about we just do whatever gets the most likes? That's what the wager is going to be. Unless it's Smiley. That
That's true. Yeah, Smiley. Nothing you say, unfortunately, will be taken seriously
because we don't know what extreme length you're going to take it to.
Yes, but yeah. Choose the wager for us. Whatever has the most likes, that will be the situation.
The title of the last podcast drove him crazy.
Oh, really?
Every Discord that I'm in, that he's also in the general chat. Oh my God, Spencer's blah, blah, blah.
I knew it. Glad.
It was pretty funny. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, what other action RPGs do you love?
So I've got a few ones from when I was younger. Most of the action RPGs that I loved the most was when I was younger, and to be fair, that's when I had the most free time to play them.
Okay.
And I haven't gotten into many action RPGs recently because they consume my time.
Now, would you consider Borderlands an action RPG?
Which one?
Borderlands?
Yeah, you could argue it's an action RPG.
Yeah, I mean, because I was thinking about that too. I was trying to think of the action RPGs I liked, and I'm like, Borderlands and BioShock is something that came to mind for me, but
yeah, you could fit BioShock in there as well.
I would say it's more of a shooter with RPG elements than.
Yeah, but there's leveling up and abilities and stuff, aren't there? And spells. It's an RPG.
Yeah.
You're playing the role of a character.
Yeah, fair.
And there's action in it.
Well, I'm gonna try to think of other games that are action RPGs that haven't been games I've talked about before.
Okay, well, one of the ones for me is Dungeon Siege.
Okay.
The original Dungeon Siege and then Dungeon Siege 2, which they came out a long time ago. And these were ones where it was like a top-down view of your character, where you were. It was kind of like it was an
like
action
Diablo?
RPG on the way to becoming like a hack and slash, you could kind of say.
Okay.
But it was like a Dungeons and Dragons style type of game where you were leveling up, gaining abilities. But what was really cool that they did in Dungeon Siege was the more you used like weapons, the more that increased your melee skill, and the more you used bows, it was the archery. Same with like attack magic and like nature magic.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it now. It kind of reminds me of RuneScape.
No, it's not like RuneScape at all. No, this is more of one where you start in a location, you have a linear path that you travel along, kind of like the classic like RPG games you'd play before, where you start a level at one point, you fight your way, make it all the way to the end, and then it goes to a loading screen to the next one. And it was just like a repeat of that throughout the whole game.
Okay.
That's how the very first one was. That you could go back and forth to different areas, and then it would let you kind of explore in different ways. But what was really cool was you didn't really have a character level. You just had your ability levels. So the more you used nature, like every time you cast a nature spell, you'd gain more experience in your nature abilities.
Kind of like how shooters do. Like if you use a certain gun, you gain more experience in that gun. Yeah.
Yeah, very similar to that. Well, it's pretty much the same, kind of like that with that. And then as that stuff leveled up, you'd gain new spells and new abilities that you could spend points on. Certain abilities you'd need to level up, like different things to different heights. And it was just, I loved the complexity, but like the simplicity of the complexity. Like there were so many different ways you could build your character. And I loved ones where I got to, every time I played through, I could do something a little different. And it was just like the story and the adventure and just going around and being an adventure. I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've been kind of looking up footage of it as you're talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only on PC? Was that a thing?
Yeah, this was back before... this was back when we had, like, square computers.
Square. Okay.
Or, like, square monitors.
Yeah. So, just kind of, like, I looked up a little bit of Dungeon Siege 1, 2, and 3.
I'm not a fan of Dungeon Siege 3, and we can talk about that in a couple of minutes here.
Oh yeah,
I don't have lots to say about it, but there's a reason for it. So, but Dungeon Siege 1 and 2 were really cool. Dungeon Siege 2, oh, give me a sec. The washer stopped. It's just doing its little music jingle.
Hey, your laundry's done.
Yeah.
Do.
What Dungeon Siege 2 did was different. They expanded on Dungeon Siege 1 by letting you could travel back and forth to areas a lot more and then find different secrets, and you'd have to do different things. And it was I don't know, it's just I miss playing those games so much, and they don't run well on computers you have today. Like I tried, well, it's just because of how old they are.
Huh.
Because I played Dungeon Siege 2 back in like the 90s.
Yeah.
And they just don't run very well on it. But Dungeon Siege 3 came out on the Xbox 360, probably PlayStation as well. But because they made it so that it could be, because they made it a console game, it lost all of the complexity and the flavor that really made Dungeon Siege what it was.
Well, I feel like that's unfair. You can keep that complexity on a console.
No, because it wouldn't have worked very well on from going from console or going from PC to console, just because there was so many different things you'd have, like because you lose the same kind of thing that you have on computer with like inventory management and like moving all of the different like spells and abilities you have to different spell books and mapping them to all the keys down on the bottom, and it adds a lot of time and makes things more complicated.
Also, I mean, if you think about it though, the reason I kind of disagree is because I've kind of had this argument about League of Legends and stuff, and people saying League of Legends would be bad on console. And while I think it would limit some capabilities, you have all your triggers, right? So you got the R1, L1, R2, L2. You can use that as a hotkey to bring up different abilities for X squared, triangle, and circle, and then L2 for X squared, triangle, circle. So you could have, just on your 4 triggers, 16 different combinations. On top of...
But in a game like League of Legends, then, how do you handle targeting areas and different creatures? And then incorporating that with the ability to have your camera freely move all the way around the map.
Well, that I understand with League. A little more, that would kind of change it. So I get the argument with League, but with this game, I can see a little difference. I guess what I would kind of handle there is you could like push in your thumbsticks to allow free roam and clickable abilities, or with the PlayStation 4 specifically, it has a touchpad.
But the tough part with a game like League of Legends, though, and to do it this way,
I'm not saying it definitely would make the game more challenging, but in the same aspect, some people would like a challenge, and I think once you master it, you could be on similar competitive level, at least with other consoles.
Okay, I mean, I can see where you're coming from, and I think if they were to do something like that on console, like that could work out. But I think what a lot of people see it though is like, why play, like for the vast majority of players, they'd be like, why play it on the console when it's so much easier to like mechanically to do it on the PC?
Fair. I 100% agree, but at the same time, I think there's a larger audience out there that don't play on PC.
No, that's fair.
And so, like, for Riot Games, if they want to just have a broader spectrum, not saying consoles obviously, not saying consoles have to be the pro league gaming. Just, you give those characters the capability. I would probably play League more if it was on my PlayStation than on PC. I just
really?
don't like the touch and click. I like personally moving my character. That's why I preferred Paragon over League.
No, that's fair. See, I don't know. I guess I'd never play it. If League of Legends was on a console, I'd maybe play it once to try it out, and I don't think I would ever play it. That being said, I'm also like, I don't ever want to play League again because it consumes my life. And
yeah. I like the capability of adaptation, because even though I have a PC and I game on it, I like having a controller in my hand, and I think it's easier to play video games with a controller for me, unless it's a shooter. Shooters are a completely different realm. But yeah, with a controller, it just feels better, and I think I would enjoy League more with a controller than I would mouse and keyboard.
No, that's fair.
I don't think it's impossible. Will it be more challenging? Yes.
But no, I get what you're saying. Bringing it back to like the Dungeon Siege route, what they did with Dungeon Siege, like making the third one on consoles, I believe, you could still get it on PC, but it was the same as it was on consoles. And there was a lot of stuff that they simplified down just because, like, I still don't think they would work well on console just because of the amount of menus that, like, the different menus you would have and how they were all unique. They all still have to be, like, redesigned for a control, like, to be able to work with a console and a controller. Just because it's not a natural, or not, I shouldn't say natural, it's not comfortable on the console playing like an RPG where you've got lots of stuff going on the screen, but you've also got these menus where the control stick is moving a mouse around to make like options and selections.
Yeah. No,
so they've got to design it so that kind of stuff works.
I would agree it would need a redesign, but to say it's impossible to work, I don't think is fair. I think blaming Dungeon Siege 3
because you've never played Dungeon Siege 1 and 2.
Fair, but I just in a technical aspect, I'm just trying to think, like, I don't think it's fair to blame Dungeon Siege 3 as bad because it's on console. I think the developers made bad choices.
What I think it is because it just that when that game came out, it was around the same time that a lot of other games that were on like solely PC were being moved over onto consoles, like their sequels were being made onto consoles, and there was a general thing with all of the games that were all making ports to consoles, like their sequels, where there were different customization options that you had that were being removed and changed so that it was more I don't know if streamlined is the right word for it, but I think that is where it was being more streamlined so that it would fit better on a console, just because with the console you have a limited amount of buttons, and the more menus and the more complicated you make it, it makes it more difficult for a controller, because you can have it so that on different menus, different buttons do different things. Yeah. But most of the people that play on the console, same with PC as well, when you have buttons that do different things on different menus, it starts to confuse and make things difficult to kind of grasp and play.
No, I understand. But again, I don't think it's the fault of the console to say, it shouldn't be on a console. I don't think is a fair thing to say. I think any game could be ported to console.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
like they did it with Final Fantasy 14.
And it's pretty successful on console.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's impossible. I just think it's the dedication that the development team wants to put towards it.
Well, because I guess part of the reason why I have a different perspective on this is when I was going to school for 3D game animation, we actually had a couple classes on like UI design. Mm-hmm. And there's generally a different design for mobile, consoles, and PC. Like all three have different approaches to it just because of the controller input.
And I understand that. And I'm not disagreeing with your logic. I'm just saying it's not impossible. Like, I'm
not saying, I don't know, I guess, because I agree with you, it's not impossible, but I think it's a bad idea just because when doing that, I think in general, most games, if they move it over to console, it's just not going to do as well as if they just left it on PC, or as if they made the changes to make it more console friendly.
Okay.
That's my thought on it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't sound like you agree with me, though.
I don't agree with you. I think every game can be ported to console. I think it just, again, it's up to the determination of the development team to make it console friendly.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just leave that as an agreed to disagree.
Sure.
The next kind of big RPG stuff, I don't really have too many more that are just like really, really solid ones that I've loved for the longest time, but
I
Mass
do
Effect
have
series.
Okay, go ahead. Mass Effect, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we talked about Mass Effect.
I think we've talked about Mass Effect enough on the podcast before that we don't need to go super deep into it.
Okay.
But it's just a super awesome RPG series that, and in its time, it was very, I want to say it was game changing. Because there had been other games that had done lots of really awesome stuff, but somehow Mass Effect, it just, all of the, I don't know if it was just a combination of its timing as well as the how it did its choices and the mechanics and how they presented it, but it was just this like perfect mesh that just exploded, and it just
literally exploded.
It literally exploded
at the end. So I don't think Mass Effect changed the game. One thing I would say they did amazingly, and most games should follow, is with the sequel, like your choices from the first game affected the second game. I thought that was amazing. So I do think that was very innovative and very intelligent. I would love to see more games do something like that. I don't think Mass Effect is too original. It had a decent story, I think. Absolutely had a good storyline. But I'm also a little biased because I don't like games where you create the main character.
Yeah, no, we've talked about that a whole bunch.
Yeah, I'm a little weird with that kind of thing. Like the same thing with the Elder Scrolls games.
Because I think you're 100%. Yeah, because this was back when the three of us, me, you, and Tolis, were all on the podcast for that.
Yeah,
it got heated at a couple points too.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like when a character is already established, they have a personality and stuff you follow and get behind, as opposed to a character you got to make. You develop the personality for them.
Yeah. And
while I love doing that for D&D, it's different with a video game. I don't play a video game for that purpose.
Yeah, because it all depends on what you're trying to get out of the video game too.
Yeah.
Because you're a huge component, or a huge component of video games for you is the story behind it.
Right. And it's not even the multiple choices. Like, people say, like, the multiple choices is what I hate. And that's not the case either. Like, I like choices too, but I want the character to have his own essence in there. And I felt like with Mass Effect, the voice acting felt stiff in some areas just because, you had to make your character and then choose if they were male or female. And then they had to have static lines. And
So, fun fact about Mass Effect. Not too long ago, one of the developers from Mass Effect tweeted out that 9 out of 10 people that played Mass Effect went the Paragon route.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And there was a lot of responses back to it, and it was basically like, it doesn't matter. Like, a lot of people chose the Paragon route because whether they went Paragon or Renegade, it didn't matter. At the end of the day, you were still getting to the end of the game. And for the most part, if you chose the Renegade option versus the Paragon option, for the Paragon option, you'd still, if it was something to do with like a group of people in this town, either way, the town was gonna, for the most part, the people were all gonna survive and people were gonna make it through either way. So there wasn't any massive major differences between going the Renegade and the Paragon. So people just went Paragon. That
goes back to when I talked about why offer options like that, Because if they have an intended story in mind, just play that story.
There were some elements in Mass Effect where the Renegade versus you know what? I don't think it was ever the Renegade or the Paragon thing that ever changed anything. It was just how people viewed your character. Any of the really big options, it wasn't Renegade or Paragon. It was just, okay, are we saving the council or are we saving the people? It was never anything. Yeah, you know what? That's a valid point. Because they asked out, I'll see if I can find the tweet for it. But there was a tweet that was sent out by the same developer. He was asking why he thought people were doing this, and basically all the responses were, well, it didn't matter because either way, it was either people liked me or didn't like me.
Right.
So why not just let people like me?
Yeah.
Because if it had gone different routes, where if the Renegade had gone down a route where you were more aggressive and like more of a leader, or it's not a leader, but like a dictator and taking over things, versus Paragon was more of like helping people and going out, and it actually branched out in different ways.
Yeah.
Then it would lead more to why you don't like that kind of stuff, which I would agree with.
I think it's kind of going off on a different topic, but I think what I would find very interesting, and I'd love to see some company do one day, I don't think it's ever going to happen, honestly, is your first game, you make two vastly different stories, right? Good and evil. And you go down two completely different paths. And with that in mind, it obviously, like, if the game does well enough, you create a sequel. Now, what I think would be really cool is if, because they're completely different games, you could either do one of two things. You can create one game with 2 discs of a good and evil storyline and play through that continued storyline for that character, or even just 2 separate games of like different dimensions or different choices for that storyline. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Well, I think there is a game that's kind of like that, and that's the newest Fire Emblem game.
The 3 houses?
Yeah, because each house that you follow, or each house that you go through, it takes you through completely different stories.
Kind of, but there won't be a sequel. And the stories aren't.
Well, I don't know. I haven't
the
finished any
stories
of it.
aren't that different.
Have you played a couple of the stories from it then?
I haven't. My buddy played, and we talked and kind of compared, and they show different perspectives of the same story.
Oh, see, I thought it went different routes where you were going to different areas and different places.
Kind of, but not really.
Because there was the other Fire Emblem before that, although it was technically 2 games.
Was it?
There was a Fire... Oh, what was it? There was one where you are... you kind of don't have any memory of what's going on.
Yeah.
And you're spending some time with this one group. And then I believe you're kidnapped by this other group. And then it gets to a point where you... the groups meet and they start fighting over things, and you decide which group you go with. And then it's 2 entirely different games based on who you go with.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And I believe you actually have to buy them as separate games too, where one of them's more of like the hardcore, like this is going to be a rough and tough one, and the other one was more of here's your like classic one, where it's still challenging, but it's not going to like slap you upside the head.
That'd be really cool. That's kind of what I would love to see in a game. Like with Mass Effect, I think if they'd branched their stories differently, they could have either created 2 different campaigns with it, profited it a little more, or not. I don't know, honestly. That might not be successful, but in my head, I think that would create a more dynamic story and interesting game.
I agree with you.
One of my favorite games is Infamous, and that has like the Paragon Evil route as well. And I've talked about it before, but one thing they did I thought was interesting, they didn't create 2 separate games, but once the game was over, before they started development for Infamous 2, they actually polled and found out that 70% of the audience chose the good route. That is the only reason they decided to start the game off as like you're a good character.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
really
they
cool.
said if more people had chosen the bad route, they would have started the game off as a bad character.
Oh, that would have been really cool to see what would have happened.
Yeah, that would have been really cool. But that's kind of the closest I can think of where a developer does things like that. But I'd love to see that one day.
One of the things that you brought up, this was a while ago, that we talked a lot about, was again to do with the part of the reason why you like them having a character already designed ahead of time instead of us making a character is because it makes it more like 99% of the time you end up with a better story because of it, because they can have stuff tie into the character and their backstory and really help things shine. And I think part of the reason why I don't think it's possible if it's done really well by like an indie developer, but I don't think we're ever going to see anything like what you were talking about with the 2 separate story type stuff. Yeah. From like a main studio, just because of the sheer amount of time and effort that it that it takes to go through and make just the one storyline, you'd basically be splitting things in half.
Well, what I think would be interesting would be maybe a game like Tales, or Telltale games. I think they would be the first to be able to experiment with something like that. Like imagine if Mass Effect was a Telltale game, right? So like you have those choices and then the episode ends and you have like this crazy branching choice from the episode. And instead of creating episode 2, they can go episode 2A or 2B. And
see, but I'm gonna pull in one of your arguments that I hated at first, but now I use all the time, is the developers have to decide. There has to be a better option. One of those two things has to be a better story. And if so, why even have the not so good story? Why not have the better story? Because there's a good chance that people playing through it are only going to play it once. So why have them go through with the chance of playing the worst story?
You're right. Yeah, you're
right, because that's your argument that I love. It's so good.
I would 100% prefer that. But I mean, if you're going to offer choices, offer real different choices. That's kind of my biggest gripe with the Telltale games is no matter what choices you make, they always end up kind of in the same path.
Yeah.
And
although certain things change.
Some, but if you're going to create a sequel, they have to end to some degree of being the same.
I remember we talked about it. I remember you not being particularly fond of the game. But not Stranger Things. It's the one where you're playing with the girl that can rewind time.
Oh, yeah. Something strange?
I don't even remember. I can't.
You love the game.
I love the game.
Strange game.
Something
with
strange.
Time.
Things strange. Maybe strange not even in it.
Life is strange.
Life is strange. Because Life is Strange did some interesting things where options that you make change it can change. I mean, at the end of the game, it really comes down to two different options, but there's a whole bunch of other I guess it's kind of similar to what Mass Effect did, where there's so many things that you do that change the effect of the journey before it comes back in at the end.
Yeah.
Where there's characters that can die at the beginning of the game, and because they're dead, you don't get to have the interactions and stuff that you would in the later parts of it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it still comes back in to the same ending point.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, if you're going to offer choices, offer actual different choices. Whether, like, even for a game like that, I would take a shorter game if it created real different branches. I'd rather sacrifice, like, say, one, 24-hour game that with slightly different choices but ultimately ends up in the same path. I'd rather, like, a 12-hour game with completely different storylines.
Okay. Well, we're pretty much at the end of the time that we have here for the podcast, but I want to end the podcast with a really good question that I think is good.
Okay.
We're not going to answer it now.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
We'll talk about it. We'll get into our thoughts about it next podcast. Maybe it'll be a short thing, maybe it'll be a longer thing, but
sure.
When it comes to playing a video game, we can use a lot of great examples, like ones that have branching paths, like Mass Effect or Life is Strange, or ones that have or like Infamous, or ones that have more of like a solid straight path, which there's enough of them out there. We don't have to give examples, like pretty much the Tales of games and many of those other ones. What is more important in a video game, though? The journey or the conclusion? So all the things that lead up to the conclusion, or how it all, or basically the conclusion and how everything all ties in together at the end. That's my question. What do you think is more important in a video game?
Okay.
So don't answer. Don't answer.
Okay.
Just because that's. I mean, it could be something simple, but
answers for the audience.
I think it could be pretty sweet.
What? I think I'm gonna poll this as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll set a poll up on the Discord. Same with, let us know in the comments below.
We'll set up a poll on YouTube in our community
we can do
tab.
that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because we're at the point where we can do that stuff now.
We can start doing that. We can interact with the audience who isn't just in Discord.
Oh, dude, because were we over 1,000 subs last podcast?
Yes, but we didn't get that option yet.
Oh, okay.
We got it. We literally got it like last week. YouTube sent me a notification saying, "Congratulations!
Oh,
You
nice.
can now have a community tab."